All right, lads and lasses, and good day, mates. Welcome to another episode of the Toon on the podcast. Newcastle have just beaten Man United at home 2-0. That's only the second time since the 70s or something that we've actually managed to beat these buggers at home. So a bit of a big result for us. I'm joined by Mark. Mark, what's your immediate reaction to that result and that performance?
I guess one of relief, to be honest. Sitting here half asleep. I've been up since about half two this morning or something. So I'll be going back for a bit of a kip. Otherwise, I'm not going to see New Year in at all. Yeah, look, it was nervy going into the game, knowing full well that Newcastle seemed to like doing Newcastle things. Our record at Old Trafford's been horrendous. So yeah, the way we saw that game out, I think, if I watch the replay of it, I'm knowing the result. I'm thinking, yeah, it's probably pretty comfortable. Watching that as we're actually seeing it unfold live, completely different kettle of fish.
It wasn't very comfortable, was it?
No.
Although, having said that, first 20 minutes, 2-0 up, I was thinking, Jesus, this is amazingly comfortable because they hadn't really done a damn thing. I think it was even by the halfway mark, sorry, not the halfway mark, but the 30-minute mark, they hadn't had a single touch in the box.
Yeah.
Hadn't had a single attempt on or off target. It was all Newcastle. I can't remember an easier first 20, 30 minutes against a team like Man United, unless you start thinking about the likes of Spurs, where we smashed them, it was like 5-0 by 20 minutes or something, wasn't it? But for the likes of Man United, that is pretty unheard of from us. It was a pretty amazing start. I'll just go through the teams briefly. So Man United started with Onana, Martinez, Maguire, De Ligt, Dalot, Ericsson, Casemiro, and Mazuri, Diallo, Xerxes, and Højlund. And then Newcastle were unchanged from the game earlier last few days. Dubravka, Trippier, Shaw, Byrne, and Hall. Bruno, Tonali, Joelinton, Jacob Murphy, Anthony Gordon, and Isak. So probably not much of a change, not much of a surprise from our side of things, Mark. Were you expecting any changes from Eddie, or do you think he was right in keeping that same team that did so well against Villa?
I guess the only thing is we've still got games coming up in the festive period, so it was whether or not the players, he felt the players were recovered properly from the previous game. That's kind of like my only feeling on that one. Definitely can't fault the decision to keep the same starting lineup, given if the players were okay, given how they've been playing. So yeah, it was all just I'm defaulting to Eddie and the coaching staff on that one, just purely. I personally would like to see some more rotation, given how many games we've got coming up. But yeah, look, they know best what state the players are in after the game and how well they're recovering. So yeah, we'll just go with that.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, maybe not starting Trippier might have been a better option.
Yeah.
He obviously went down with an injury, looked like a hammy on 58 minutes. Tina was on the bench, so I think that would have been probably an easier call to make if Eddie felt like it. But that said, you could see from the last game how much Trippier still manages to control the team. He marshals that back line very well. He marshals the whole team really very well. He's like having a second or third captain on the pitch.
Yeah,
and he was doing it again.
He was outstanding in that first half as well.
Yeah, he was doing it again in this game. You can see when we went to the 5 at the back that he was slightly inside from Murphy. So Murphy was in the fullback position when we're out of possession, and he was a little bit inside. But he was coming deep at times as well. And then he was going back into his position. He was marshalling the whole back line, just making sure everyone knew what they were doing. A real captain's performance from the guy who wasn't even captain. It's unfortunate that he's just getting back into the team, and then he goes and pulls his hammy. You could see he was pretty annoyed as well.
Yeah,
when he had to come off. Hammies are how long are hammies? Like 5 to 6 weeks, or it's going to be short?
I think it'll depend on how bad it is. It didn't look like it was like a full-blown tear. It looked like it was a tweak that he felt and didn't want to go, because I mean he kept running around. If he'd pulled something properly and it had torn his hamstring and it needed surgery, then there's no way he carries on running around the pitch the way he did until Tino was ready. So it does feel like it's probably a couple of weeks maybe, just to kind of see how he goes with it. Maybe it's just a precautionary thing. We don't know. I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Manchester United made 4 changes from the last defeat. It didn't work for them, did it? I mean, it's not often you see a manager hook somebody on 30, 32
30
minutes,
odd
whatever it
minutes.
was.
Yeah.
Who was it who came off? It was Xerxes, wasn't he? And he
With
got
Xerxes, yeah.
was he getting booed, or was they just booing the whole team in general, do you
I
think,
think
when
they
he was
were
coming off?
just like unhappy with the entire performance. Like the Man United team themselves just seem bereft of any kind of confidence at the moment. The passes were going either to a Newcastle player or out on the full for a throw in or a goal kick or something. There was no kind of cohesion to them whatsoever. Having said that, I thought we played well in terms of pressing them really early on and winning the ball back and getting in those positions to recover the ball. As soon as that change was made, that was kind of where things started to maybe go a little bit worse for us in terms of the nerves, where they started to get a bit more of the control of the ball and we stopped getting as many chances and getting those forays forward. I don't know how much of that's down to the sub. Manu came on. Don't think he really did much. I think maybe it was a more formational change just to kind of try and shore up that midfield where they were getting dominated early on. But yeah, it was a weird one just to start. You know, normally people will wait until half time to make those subs. So fair play to Amorim for having the balls to hook someone straight away. Xerxes didn't look particularly happy. Went off down the tunnel. The commentator was saying maybe someone's had a word in his ear and told him to get his ass back out there and don't strop or something. I don't know, but yeah, it was ballsy call. But I think it really helped them get a bit more of a handle on the game, even though didn't pan out for them in the end.
I mean, Xerxes probably thought all those boos were for himself, so he storms off down the tunnel thinking, well, fuck you lot then. And then he tells him, no, get back out. And he's like, oh, God's sake. So he had to trudge back to the bench. Yeah, I think they started a 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1 or however you want to look at that. But I'm pretty sure they changed something so that out of position, they went to 5 at the back and 4 in the midfield and like a 5-4-1 instead. And I think that's probably largely responsible for stifling our forward progression. It was obviously too open. I mean, we were cutting them open at will at times. You know, we were just electric down the sides. Gordon was up for it. Isak was well up for it. Didn't see much from Murphy, but the likes of Tonali and Bruno, Joe Litton, Lewis Hall, all really, really just went flying at this game. And I think, before the game, I think a few of us were saying we need to hit them early, hit them quick, hit them early, get that early goal, and they'll kind of crumble, And I'm not so sure that they crumbled necessarily. Yes, it was 2-0 by 20 minutes, but it seemed to do the job, didn't it? I mean, this feels like a new tactic for us now. Like, if we don't score early, we maybe we'll start to panic a little bit. But if we do score early and we'll get that early boost and the freeness to play the game we want when we're already 1-0 up, say, for example, then we're a much different side. Do you reckon that's correct? Do you think we've always been an early goal team, even maybe? I'm not so sure about it, but it does feel like something's changed lately, and it feels like a lot like we go all hell for leather to get that early goal, and then we can kind of dictate things a little bit better.
It's difficult to say. I mean, I've been saying this for a while that this season, like, we need to score early to get the other team on the offensive to then free up some space. We're no good if teams can sit back against us and soak up pressure, because we are good on pacey counterattacks, pacey build up play. We're not gonna we don't seem to have that unlocking skill at the moment to be able to kind of pull something out the bag if a team is actually sitting deep and just trying to hold us off. We seem to lose momentum doing, like, when we don't score early and we run out of ideas, we run out of legs, and then it's kind of like some haphazard changes to see if something can get pulled out the bag later on. Nothing has ever seemed to work in those sorts of games for us. So yeah, when we're scoring early, like we have been the last few games, we definitely look a completely different side, and then we just manage the game really well after that. And I think, you said it's like we're 2-0 up inside 20 minutes, but we could have gone into half time like 4 or 5 up if people had finished chances that they had, or we had a little bit of rub of the luck. I mean, Tonali's hit the post. There's a few other players like kind of probably should have done better with their shots. Isak one-on-one with a keeper and like tries to lob the keeper, and it's just like tries to chip the keeper, sorry. It's just like, look, just put your foot through it, man. Like you threw on goal. He's taken one too many touches. He's tried to be too clever. And I said this on Twitter the other day, and people were saying, "Oh, don't be so stupid. Isak's like fantastic." But there's a lot of our players in those positions, in those sorts of situations, they seem to really struggle when they have time to think about what they're going to do. Like, there's so many of them end up just fluffing the chances when they've got a little bit of time to think about what to do. If it's just like, things are on them straight away and that they've got to make a split-second decision and it's just almost on reflex, on instinct, it all goes really well. But if they've got a bit of time and space, they always seem to manage a way to kind of screw it all up.
You got to remember, Isak's like, he's just a bairn, isn't he? What is he, like
24,
13-year-old or something?
23, 24.
So, he's not even in his prime. I mean, it's scary to
No.
think about. But you imagine things like composure in front of, the goalkeeper by yourself or something will get better over time.
Oh,
But
that's what I said. That's what I said. I said, like, I mean, if he can add that to his game as he's going, he'll be like one of the best players on the planet.
And let's be honest, it's not like he's that bad at it already. I mean, yes, okay, sometimes we've seen it a lot lately. He'll spurn what look like very presentable chances.
Yeah. Like the problem is he's scoring stupidly difficult ones, and then he's like fluffing the what seems to be the easiest chances of the game. And it's kind of
case in point, that one where he tried to lob it, he could have just dragged that back and hit it on his left foot, and he would have been probably a much better position to score.
Yeah.
But then when he was offside for that ball, took a ricochet, and the ball came to him, and he was miles offside. He fucking rifled it in the far top corner somehow, and I was like, "How the hell did he even get that in from that angle?" It's like mad. Let's talk about the first goal. So Lewis Hall, he's got a hell of a whip on his cross. He puts a lovely shape on those crosses. They're almost always kind of boom around back into the box. It's an inch perfect pass straight to Isak. I think Isak surprised he even gets to him because he watched the replay and his eyes suddenly light up when he goes, "Oh God, this ball's actually going to get to me here." He does that very clever thing that they sometimes teach strikers, is to head it into the ground so the keeper doesn't know what the ball's going to do. And then he just, I wasn't sure if he thought it was going to get ruled off.
You head it over the bar from there.
Yeah, that can happen as well. I wasn't sure if he thought it was going to get ruled off though, because he just sort of like stood there for a second, didn't he? Just like trotted off and then had a little wry smile, and all his mates came around him and that. Good goal though, wasn't it?
It was like the build-up play. I mean, Isak had nothing to do. Let's be fair. Like, the ball basically came off his head, as you said. He sort of headed it into the ground just to kind of take the keeper out of the equation. But it was all in the build-up play. Like the cross from the left wing by Hall was just absolutely top draw. He is just coming on leaps and bounds, and there's probably a lot of clubs kicking themselves right now that nobody else was willing to take a punt on Lewis Hall, and there were supposedly cheaper options, and we've overpaid for him. But right now he's looking like the bargain of the century at that left back position.
And again, he's only a Ben as well. He's just a little toddler, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, if he continues this progression, he's going to be an outstanding left back for England. To say nothing of Newcastle, assuming he stays here. Who knows? But yeah, he's working out pretty well. We said, I was actually reading a bunch of things on the forums, because I always do that. And almost to a man, they were saying, we'll lose this game. This is the Man United forum. They're saying, we'll lose this game, so we're not expecting to get anything out of this. And we cannot defend across a set piece, whatever it might be, that comes into the box. We cannot defend them. And so it wasn't really much of a surprise that that's how we got our first goal, from a cross in from Hull. And when you think about the Joelinton goal, it was another ball into the box, and he kind of, well, let's kindly say, encourages the ball into the net with the use of his shoulder. But I kind of don't feel like we took enough advantage of those balls into boxes, though. I mean, maybe it's because of the way things changed on the 30-odd minute, but I feel like we kind of almost let them off a little bit. They are so bad and so nervous at the back. And Onana is either the best goalkeeper in the world or he's the worst. He's never anything in the middle.
No.
And it didn't feel like we just constantly bombarded them with crosses in all the time. It felt a little bit like we kind of might have let them off a little bit there.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's one of those situations where I think them playing three at the back early on gave us that space on the wings to be able to get those crosses in. One of the things that you've got to understand, though, I guess, is we play with inverted wingers, and it's one of the big bugbears that I think we all have by playing inverted wingers. You lose that width, and you don't have that natural foot to be able to whip those balls into the box on the left and the right. So it's all right having that space, but luckily for us, you've got someone like Lewis Hall who is very, very good at overlapping. I was a little bit disappointed that that Trippier wasn't overlapping as much as otherwise we've been kind of used to him doing. He's normally the one on the right-hand side. He seemed reluctant to put crosses in. Murphy's kind of tried to get a few balls in, but his quality was off. And I guess this is one of the big things why we want to buy a new right winger. Is Murphy's great on his day, but he's just not consistent enough. And he probably had one of his more off days today. He did well defensively, put the effort in, but didn't really have that quality in the final third that we've seen in the last few games. But yeah, so it was that weird thing where this is the easy route to goal. Just bombard them with crosses into the box and see what you get off them. Having said that, I think when they made the changes and they kind of went that 5 at the back, they had those players back in the wing back positions almost, that cut out that opportunity for us to get forward more, and like didn't give us those easy crosses into the box, and we kind of seemed to struggle where we went forward and we sort of, oh, hang on, there's somebody there. We can't play that ball into space anymore. So fair play to their manager. They seem to address that on that substitution and a bit of a tactical change. But yeah, as you said, up to that point, we should have probably been trying to abuse that cheat code a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if the right-hand side thing is just because we identified the left as the weaker of the two. And we didn't push too much down the right at all in this game when you think about it. And when we did, it didn't really come to much. But again, perhaps that's because they were just crowding us out later in the game. So 1-0 after 4 minutes. Absolutely brilliant start. Took a little while to get the next one. I was sort of hoping that this would be like, okay, there's a quick fire goal. Let's get into the quick fire goal. I mean, it rarely ever happens that way, but it took, 15 whole bloody minutes before we got the next goal. And because it's Newcastle, we always know that we need at least 2 goals and ideally 3 before we can kind of start to relax a little bit. And it was the same against Villa, 2-0 in 10 men against Villa. Sorry, Villa with 10 men. It was 2-0 up for us. And we still were kind of thinking, we've got to get a third. We've got to get a third. We need that third so that we can bloody relax. And I mean, eventually we did. We didn't get the third in this game, but we did get the second on the 19th minute, a golden ball into the box. And yeah, Joe Linton just kind of bulldozes that one in, doesn't he? Does what Joe Linton does. He's like, whatever, I'm a man mountain, deal with me if you can. It went to the VAR review. It passed the review, obviously, but especially on the forums, a lot of people are saying that was obviously a handball. What did you think of it?
Well, according to the commentators, if it comes off that part of the arm, it's not considered handball. It's only below the elbow. So Man United fans can suck it. No, look, it's like, it's one of those where, he's just this human steamroller that kind of bulldozes his way through the opposition defense at times. He had the height advantage, he had the size advantage. He's used it to his own credit, but get your head on it, son. Don't let it come off your shoulder next time.
He seems to do that a lot, doesn't he? Kind of bounces off all kinds of parts of Joe Linton, like rarely off his head, but like off his arse.
Yeah.
Off his face that time, now off his upper arm, let's call it.
Yeah, as long as it ends up in the back of the net.
That's right. Yeah, we've always said, look, I don't care if it bounces off his balls and goes in. It doesn't make any difference as long as it goes in. And obviously, it went in this time. I think it took a slight deflection as well, which probably sold an honour. That's 2-2 for Joe Linton, hitting a bit of form, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he's always like, we seem to have players that go in purple patches. Let's hope this is the start of one for him. If Murphy's going to have a little bit of a lull,
you need that though. You need your players to individually pick up a bit of form at various times in the season to rattle in a few goals, get you over the line when you need to. You can't rely
Well,
on the same
it's
people
one
all
of
the
the
time.
things that Eddie Howe's pointed out is that we share the goals around, and he's like, well, look, we want to be doing that because it makes us harder to defend against if anyone can sort of come through and get a goal, and it takes the pressure off Isak, because if Isak's the only one that's scoring goals, then you basically just double team him every game and mark him out of the game, and that's us kind of like screwed. So having that multiple goal threat that we seem to be generating now with Gordon and Murphy's been chipping in. We need more out of Tonali and Bruno, if you ask me. A few goals from Bruno would be nice for the next half of the season, and get Tonali on the score sheet a bit more, just to kind of spread those around. And, obviously Craig and I talked about this the other night. If we can get a nice right winger in that's going to score a few goals for us as well, that will, in January, that will be very, very nice to have as well.
Certainly would. Speaking of Bruno, though, he had another excellent game. He does a, I mean, Isak does this as well. They both do a shit ton of running. Like Bruno is pressing from the front. He's been pushed up a little bit with Tonali now is taking that kind of more defensive position, but he's forwards, he's sideways, he's dropped back to defend. I don't know how he's got legs left at the end of the game sometimes, Bruno. So it might be a little bit.
He looked shagged out
He
at the
did
end
look.
of
He
this
did
game.
look absolutely buggered eye. It might be a little bit much to ask him to also chip in goals in this kind of formation that we've got him in. He's more about a disruptor, a creator, and if he can pick up one or two, though, that'd be very welcome, wouldn't it? Tonali as well, of course.
Yeah,
Tonali had another good game, but how did he not get that ball in the goal? It was. It fell to him
needed
so
to go with his
beautifully.
left. He needed to shoot with his left foot rather than get his right foot on it, and it's just kind of like try to toe poke it into the corner, and it was just so close, so close.
That was the 3. That was the 3-0. We could have just had
and
a
I could have
party then.
sat back and enjoyed it.
Exactly right, yeah. And for all in the world, I thought that was going to go in. I could not believe it when it didn't go in. But yeah, so we've already mentioned it. They made a change. Things started to turn a little bit. It was a little bit more difficult, wasn't it, in the last 15 towards half time? You get to half time, it's still 2-0, and you think, all right, have a bit of a word, change things up a little bit, maybe bring out some different legs. Who knows? He rarely does that at half times, or Eddie. No. But let's try and get another early goal in the second, and that'll really just settle us down. But didn't happen, though.
No.
Man United were pretty much on it, weren't they, the whole second half?
I don't know how much of it's down to them starting to get control of the game, or us sitting back just being happy to control it. Now, from our point of view, this is showing you, like, Newcastle fans were so traumatized that I was in the group chat before going, 2-0 up, we're controlling the game, and I'm still nervous as anything, because I just know we're going to lose this game.
It's never going to change.
If we concede one goal, we're going to concede another. Rashford will come on and score the winner because he's been recalled from the wilderness after God knows how many games out. It's inbuilt in here that we just can't have nice things, and we never do it the easy way.
No.
Yeah. But we definitely did sit back, and whether or not that was an intentional thing from us, just to try and conserve some energy, but we still did plenty of running for a tactic to conserve energy. But you know what? That's 4 clean sheets on the bounce now.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe we should be feeling a bit more confident when we've got a couple of goals on the board.
It's because it's Man United. It's because it's Old Trafford. It's because, we've only won once in 50 million years. You can understand the mentality of it. Obviously, everyone's been talking about in the lead up to this game. You think about the last season when we played them and they were an absolute mess, and we were all saying, this is the best chance we'll ever have to beat these lot because they're in an absolute shambles. And then we go there and we lose. And then it comes around again the next year, and it's like, oh yeah, forget what we said last year. This time they are definitely the worst Man United team we've ever seen, and this time we definitely will win. And you go 2-0 up, and you're thinking, nah, this is too easy. There's something going on here. Where's the kicking the balls that we're all kind of sitting here waiting for, And that whole second half was probably what I was thinking. I was just thinking, if they get the first one, you could feel it because the crowd got back on.
Yeah, the crowd definitely got back into
devil
it
after the first 20, as you can imagine. And they were booing when they made that substitution. but they started to get into it slowly, and then second half they continued, and you could feel the energy in the stadium was now back into Man United's court. And you're thinking, get that one goal, and what are we going to do? How are we going to respond? Like, we've not got the third, we've only got two. And they always say, 1-0 is a dangerous scoreline, 2-0 is also a dangerous scoreline because the mentality shift if you get that one, especially when you've got the entire half to cover. So I think we can all kind of be forgiven for sitting there sort of creaming our pants. Well, not creaming, creamed a little bit, shitting our pants a little bit, just waiting for the inevitable. I mean, I said to my mate Joe, who was meant to be on the pod today, but he bottled it, typical, that, they'll probably bring on Garnacho, and his pace will probably crucify us down that side. And you'll probably bring on Rashford, and he'll just win it for you, and then everyone will suddenly love him again because, it's just written that these things will happen. And, Rashford just sat there and watched. It was kind of like maybe that was just a little, olive branch or whatever to say, like, okay, all right, maybe I'll bring you back in my plans, but not today. They could have done a lot worse than stick him on, because I think the biggest problem for Man United this whole game was that they haven't got anybody who can score a fucking goal. Not that I'm complaining, but it seemed obvious that, once they changed their midfield and crowded out the space, all they needed was somebody who knew how to put the ball in the back of net. And we did eventually finally get them on the right day, didn't we?
Well, they got control of the game back, and they started to get some more chances created. And as you said, like the one or two opportunities that fell their way, there was like a header that I thought was definitely going in. They've hit the bar, they've hit the post. So they did have a couple of chances, little half chances maybe, which, as you said, it's like stick someone like Rashford on, who's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League, and maybe it's a different story at the end of the day. So from our point of view, pleased he stayed on the bench. But I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't make any substitutes earlier on, just get some fresh legs on. I think it was pretty sorry.
I was going no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I'm just talking over here because I was actually going to get onto that next and just say that, Eddie sometimes makes really late subs. Lately, he's been doing them earlier around the typical sort of 60-minute mark. And even before that, he was actually doing those rare sort of half-time changes. And these are the things these levers that he's trying to pull to try and get us into the game if we need to. But it was when was the first sub that we had? It was like friggin' 80 minutes or something.
Trippier went off.
Yeah, that was a forced
which was enforced, but then it was like 80 odd minutes,
85
minutes, something like that.
Yeah, so and bearing in mind we've got Spurs next, and that's away as well, I think. And that's going to be a team that's going to do plenty of running, and you need to have fresh legs to take advantage of the space they will inevitably leave behind them, as we see time and time again. You would have thought that some of these changes might have came in sooner. Golden was knackered by 65 minutes.
Yeah.
Bruno stayed on the whole time. Obviously, he's buggered, but I'm not sure who you could. Well, you could have put in Longstaff maybe, and changed up a little bit in the middle. Murphy was knackered and he wasn't really doing much anyway. And then Barnes ends up down the right, which is not. No, actually, Barnes went left and Joe Linton went right.
Linton went on the right, yeah.
Which is, I don't know. I think Joe Linton's probably better on the left as well. So I was going to say, I mean, in the end, you sit here and you go, you know what, we're 1-2 now. It doesn't really matter. Fundamentally, for this particular game, late changes, yes, but we got through it. As far as we know, there's no injuries other than Trippier. We got the win. Everything's looking rosy. But you kind of have to wonder, it's not that long until we play Spurs. Spurs are a shambles as well, quite frankly. And, if we can't beat Spurs, then we'd have to ask questions about ourselves anyway. But ideally, we'd be going into that competition with fresher legs than what we might have now because of these changes being so late.
Well, the thing for me is like, this is what we've always said about Eddie Howe, is his lack of substitutions is probably is one downfall as the manager. And we all love him, and I know we've all flown the flag and sort of got our backs up when people were going on about Eddie Howe out, just because we had a couple of bad results in that. But the one thing that he never seems to do is actually make those comfortable changes when we all looking at it think, players are obviously getting tired. Let's bring on some fresh legs. Now, do you not think, does that not show a lack of confidence in the players that, this is a tight game, our A team's out there, if you like. If I bring anyone on, it's going to be a drop in quality. Maybe they can't handle it. Maybe there's a mentality issue. Because to me, the ideal thing was to bring Willock, to bring Barnes, to bring like bring a Sula on. If all Isak is there for is just as like an outlet ball and to chase down the balls when the keeper has it, like stick a Sula on when you're 2-0 up on 70 minutes. Give him 20 minutes outing, and just let him do the grunt work, if you like. Put Miggy on instead of Murphy and get Murphy some rested legs. There's so many options, and none of that happened. And I'm like, at what point does that then become like the manager doesn't have any kind of faith that those players can see that game out?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's not like he's going to look at Barnes and say, I don't have faith in you to do something because Barnes is a good player. It's not like he's going to look at Willock and say, I don't think I've got faith in you either, because he's been brilliant for us at various times during his time here. But yes, then you could look at the likes of Miggy and go, Jesus Christ, you're an absolute abortion, Sunshine, and you're going to just cost us. And I'm sorry to talk about Miggy these ways, because I did want him to actually play at times this season, because he's naturally right sided, and you usually want to have round pegs and round holes, and he's obviously a right sided midfielder, forward, whatever. And so that made sense to stick him in there. But then when he did come on recently, he was terrible. Like, all the moves that we tried to make just broke down as soon as they got anywhere near him. And maybe that's match sharpness, but maybe it's also because his confidence gone for whatever reason. You know, he's not playing, and maybe he's feeling injury still. Maybe he's just not right for the system anymore. Maybe he's too old. I mean, what is he? 40? He's what is he? He's in his 30s, isn't he?
He's early 30s, I think. Now,
yeah. So he probably hasn't got the pace anymore. He certainly doesn't seem to have the touch anymore. These things can change if he gets more game time, but in big games like this, you don't want to give him that sort of game time. And then, you know, with Man United, as much as you might say they're a shambles, every one of those players knows how to play football, and they can still hurt you from any position. So yes, Miggy, I would never have played. Thankfully, he didn't. Asula is a funny one though, but I think Asula is the typical Eddie Howe approach to new players, where he wants them to be ready for the system before he chucks them in the deep end. And this would have been a very deep end to chuck him into as well. So I think, like I say, I think it's a little bit of A and a little bit of B. Some he does trust, some he probably doesn't trust yet, and some he probably won't trust much more anyway. And I mean, surely we're going to flog Miggy. I mean, Miggy's got to go in the summer, hasn't he? The winter, sorry.
Yeah, we're talking about this with Craig the other night. I mean, to me, I've enjoyed Miggy at the club, and I do thank him for his service, kind of thing. He's always put 100% effort in, but it's just got to the point where we need an upgrade on that right side. I can't see a place in the squad for both Miggy and Murphy, and I think Murphy's a better fit for us at the moment. Miggy needs to be moved on, and I'm not even bothered how much we get for him. Free the wages up, get a little bit towards a new player. And if we are going to go for someone like a Bakayoko, that isn't going to be that Brian Mbumo kind of level of transfer fee, then, you know, so be it. Maybe that just gets us over the line. Realistically, maybe Eddie Howe's got an eye on the Spurs game, thinking, well, you know what, our forwards, we could probably get, you know, we wanted to keep it tight. We wanted to get the defenders and the midfielders maybe a little bit more kind of comfortable game this game, knowing that Spurs basically don't have a defense to put out next week on Saturday. They've got like no senior centre halves fit at all. So
they're so screwed at the back.
Yeah.
They lost another two just in the last game as well. I mean, they are down to like, they might as well have fucking 4 goalkeepers playing at this rate. I mean, it's and you can have sympathy because we know how that is. So that was us last season.
Oh yeah, for sure. But we've got to take advantage of it. Sure.
And I think we will. I mean, I think we will. You know, we'll probably have to score the early goal again to make sure that we're kind of tails up because you do not want to give them a slightest sniff. I think with Charlison's back for this one, so that might help in our favour because he's bloody useless. Of course, now I've said that, he'll probably score a freaking hat-trick now look. But look, anyway, coming back to this game, we see the game out 2-0. I mean, it was largely Man United for much of that second half. There was a lot of backs against walls, lots of last-minute defending. But we managed to see it out because, again, they just don't know how to score a goal these days. I mean, they haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing, which is fine. Absolutely fine by me. I have no problem seeing them slide towards relegation. How hilarious would that be? Just some stats I've got here from the BBC. So it was 52% possession to them and 47% to us. Again, that just reflects how much we let them have the ball in the second half. Their XG was 0.88 to our 1.96. So that's almost right. if you believe XG. Goalkeeper saves, they had 2 saves. Martin Dubravka didn't have any. Not a single save. And actually, I just want to touch on Martin Dubravka because as much as I lament him for the way he treated us last season, and I don't care what anyone says, he treated us like shit, and I don't like it. He has done an excellent job since he came back in. And he's had a few clean sheets, which is amazing for any goalkeeper. And I think I'm really enjoying his distribution. His ability to get the ball out from his feet to an actual player in black and white is a bit of a novelty that I'm still getting used to, and I'm starting to like it a little bit. It's one of the weaknesses of Nick Pope, if you ask me. But I think I just want to give props to Dubravka for all the things I've said. I still stand by them, but I think he's doing a terrific job. Yes, okay, he's probably looking to put himself in the window and get a move in January, but that benefits us in the meantime.
Yeah.
You know, and we have a situation there that we have to resolve. We need a new goalkeeper. If Dubravka's going to force his move, we've got to get someone in, probably Trafford, probably 20 million at least. That's how much Burnley are wanting. But we need to sort that thing out, and Dubravka can go, and I'll just say, you know what, fair enough, mate. You did a job for us in that last season, and good luck to you. You know what I mean? He's done all right.
He's been a good keeper for us over the years. I think the sour taste in most fans' mouths is purely and simply because of him throwing his toys out the pram when Nick Pope was brought in. And the fact that he was on loan at Man United for the cup final, couldn't play for us when we went to Wembley, and we needed him the most because Nick Pope had got suspended. You know, that's a bitter pill to swallow for most of the Newcastle fans, and I think that will taint some of his reputation in his time here. But look, for me, he's been a good keeper for us, and since he's come back in for Nick Pope, he's been absolutely fantastic for us. Having said that, I don't know. He's made a couple of decent saves, but you know, as you said, he hasn't actually made a save today against Man United. So, how much of it's down to him, the clean sheets, and how much of it's down to us just bossing the game and the defense not letting the shots in is up for debate. But look, realistically speaking, it looks like he's worked on his game somewhat. I think when he came in last season, he looked shaky, like shaky at best. There was always that huge line, that gap between the defenders and Dubravka. The defense was pushing up as they'd been told to do, and then Dubravka was stuck on his goal line and letting people run in amongst it. So the defense had to drop deep, which meant there was a gap between the defenders and the midfield that team started to take advantage of. He looks like he's starting to come out a bit more. He looks like he's commanding his box a bit more. He seems more comfortable with the ball at his feet now. So fair play to him if he's been working on that side of his game. I still think he'll leave. I think he offers a good chance to get some wages off the books, to maybe get a small fee. You know, I still maintain that if PIF can overpay for players from Chelsea that are over the hill, then a current Premier League goalkeeper that's just kept 4 clean sheets in a row should be commanding at least a reasonable fee. But look, yeah, get him off, wave him farewell, wish him good fortunes in his new endeavours, and then we can move on and hopefully grab a keeper that we are willing to play, even if we're not playing Odysseus after paying 20 million for him.
That was a scam. Let's be honest.
That was a PSR fiddle. Yeah, we know
that was. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if our next opponent, Spurs, have a little look at Dubravka, because God knows Fraser Foster's not working out for them, is he?
Yeah.
But that's their problem, not ours. Looking at the league table, then, just to wrap this up a little bit, we are in 5th place, which is bloody tremendous. And that's the safest 5th place as well, because we're all on 19 games here, at least the people who can hurt us. Above Man City. You would have said that after about 8 games, would you? Because we were winning those early games, even though we played like shit, and then we suddenly started losing those games because we were playing like shit, and then we were looking really bad, and then you're thinking, "Where's this going to end? We're going to just be mid-table mediocrity now. Is this our new? Is this our new level?" And then, blam, 5th place, 4 wins on the trot in the league, above Man City, albeit Man City are terrible, above Manchester United, who have just beaten, above Spurs. I mean, all these teams are struggling. And we are only 3 points behind Chelsea in 4th, who have just got humped by Ipswich 2-0, which was a result I personally didn't see coming. But Craig on the podcast predicted like a draw for Villa and Brighton and a win for Ipswich would be really good for us. And I was like, mate, there's no chance that is happening with Ipswich and Chelsea. And here I am looking like a bloody idiot. And Craig absolutely called it. So good on you, Craig. Up to 5th. Where's our ceiling this season? Just to close us off, just a little kind of thought process here. Where do you think our level is here?
I don't know.
It's funny, isn't it?
It's one of those things where I've always said we've been a momentum team, and every time we've kind of got up a few wins, there's been an international break that's screwed us over and kind of reset the playing field. Everyone's come back tired, and then we've really struggled to get back up and running again. So I guess it's about making the most of this. If we can beat Spurs and some of the other results go our way, there's some daylight starting to kind of get between us and some of the so-called challengers for that sort of top 6, top 7 spots. I would have said, given a month ago, 2 months ago, a month ago, 4 games ago, top 4 definitely out of the equation. Now I'm not so sure. We're playing well. We're getting up there in contention for it. So it's all about kind of us just getting on a roll, making sure we stay on it, and hoping that people around us drop some points, and keep it going.
It's bloody good, isn't it? And our goal difference is finally looking all right as well. Because God knows it was bloody lifting.
Yeah, we've managed to get back to the old Newcastle when we did qualify 4th. We're scoring lots of goals. We're not conceding any goals. The goal difference is going in the right direction, and we're putting points on the board. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yep, it's looking bloody brilliant. Eddie Howe should surely be manager of the month for December. And if it's not the case, I'm going to burn down the FA headquarters. Right, just the last thing before we go is who's your man of the match? I'm not sure if I lost your audio there, Mark, but I'll continue.
No, sorry, no, that's all good. I think Isak got it from the commentary booth.
Yeah,
I thought the broadcasters. I think Bruno's ran about and controlled that midfield as much as he ever could. I'm giving it to Lewis Hall. I thought he was fantastic down that left. I thought he tracked back really well, got forward and gave us the threat early on. Yeah, I'm going to go for Lewis Hall, even though it is very, very close between the others.
No, yeah, I'm absolutely loving the work that Lewis Hall's putting in. I mean, he needs a better haircut. He looks like Simple Jack out of Tropic Thunder, but he's progressing so fast this season. It's incredible. I can't wait to see how he gets on in the next few years. I'm going to give it to Bruno. I'm going to give it to Bruno for the second game in a row. He was fantastic against Villa, and I thought he was, as much as anything, just his energy and his commitment. Even right at the end when he's like getting a throw in on 93 minutes, and he's like screaming to the gods, because he's just wasted a bit more time. That's just pure determination and the will to win, and he wants to do it for this club. And it's just fantastic. I love watching him, but I'll give it to Bruno. All right. So anyway, let's wrap this up. Newcastle 2, Man U 0. Suck on that one, Red Devils. And thanks everyone who's watched and listened. Give us a subscribe and join our Telegram chat if you like. And we shall see you for the next one. Cheers, Mark.
Cheers, mate. Catch you later.